History bears testament to those who have led a nation. From the early kings that united warring tribes to create some semblance of a nation, to those that have caught the spirit and essence of their people and turned it into the ingredients to forge empires. We have seen those who have risen to lead. Kings, queens, emperors, revolutionaries, generals, presidents and prime ministers. Each has sought to harness the power of a nation and with it govern it. Some seek stability, others glory and conquest, and others wish to make the nation great again. From Julius Caesar to Margaret Thatcher, from Cleopatra to JFK, from Queen Elizabeth to Winston Churchill, and from Wu Zetian to Barack Obama, we have witnessed leaders rise and fall. The great and the greedy, the peaceful and the pugilists, the builders and the bringers of destruction. The world has witnessed many leaders, but what if your favorite YouTubers found themselves installed as a leader of a nation, be it an existing one or a virgin nation state? How would they lead? What would change? What would remain? What would their key policies be? What would be the national anthem? Who would form their cabinet? How would they rule? Well, you are about to find out in HG Tudor's exciting new series, If I Ruled My World, where YouTubers hold the reins of power and you decide if you want them as your leader. Hello, I'm HG Tudor, and welcome to If I Ruled My World, where the reins of power have been handed to a particular person. We find out what their plans are to rule their nation state. Today, I'm joined by the Duchess of Narsussex. Hello, Duchess, and welcome.
Hello, HG.
Hello. Now, today, of course, you are the leader of a nation, and I understand from your early response that we must address you as Premier O'Toole.
It's Premier O'Toole. It's
Premier. Oh, well, yes, you would say Premier because you have a bastardized version of English. So
right, right, exactly. And it's sort of, like Eastern European, because I'm a little bit of a dictator, but not a bad dictator.
A benign
I'm
dictator.
I'm a bad dictator towards bad people, but I have to have a little bit of a dictator sounding.
Okay, well, so Premier or Premier.
Yes, yeah. Oh, I see what you're saying. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Now let's get down to business. What's the name of your country?
Gasser.
Okay, and that's spelt?
Gasser.
And what's the thought process behind that?
That's my Austrian grandmother's last name, her maiden name.
Why did you choose your grandmother's last name rather than say your other grandmother?
I'm sorry. So because of what my country will be doing to people, it's just sort of. It's just, okay. It fits. That's why. Okay, my plans.
So there's a bit of a early portent of what might be coming our way in respect of the country of Gasser.
Yes.
What's its capital?
Nitrous oxide and Zyklon B, and I'll get into that later.
Well, okay.
But those are two gases.
So is the capital going to be called nitric oxide Zyklon B?
Yes.
Okay. So like we have Budapest, so you have Buda and Pest. And then you have, in the United Kingdom, you have on one side of the Tyne, Newcastle upon Tyne, and the other side, Gateshead. We've got nitric oxide, Zyklon B. So is that two sides of the city, do you think? Do we have a nitrous oxide side and a Zyklon B side?
I didn't think about that, but I guess yes, because my country has a duality to it. It has two sides to it. So yes, it would be split up.
No problem.
With a wall.
Yeah. Okay. And tell me about your seat of power.
It would be Neuschwanstein.
Okay. Can you expand on that for me?
Neuschwanstein, as most probably all of the Europeans know, is a castle in Germany. For the Americans, it would be what the Disney even though I don't like Disney, it would be what the Disney castle was based off of. And Neuschwanstein was run by the people that I most dislike in the whole world, past and present. So I've sort of have their castle overrun. And I'm running my operation out of that.
Okay. So do I sense there's a degree of retribution about this?
Yes.
Okay. And we can picture the castle. Do you have a throne in the turret, giving you a splendid view over the country of Gaza, or?
I don't understand what you mean. A throne.
Well, for instance, you might sit on a throne as leader.
I'm not a throne type person.
No.
No.
What, are you more a beanbag kind of person?
No, I would have just more of like a power desk in office.
Power desk. Okay. What does the power desk look like? Is it carved from obsidian? Does it have the souls of the insurgents melded into it?
That's exactly what it's made up of.
Yeah, I'm getting a great picture here. So we've got a castle with an obsidian desk, and
it would be it would have all the jewels that I've taken from these people.
Okay, so they'd be sort of embedded into the desk, so you could, whilst you're issuing your latest diktat or papal bull, you could be running your fingers over an emerald, remembering the poor sap who had it plucked from him before you threw him from the castle walls.
That's absolutely correct.
Yeah, I'm getting the flavour of Gaza. It's coming through loud and clear. Okay, now turning on to matters musical. What's the national anthem of Gaza?
There's a song called "Don't Stop the Party." It's sort of like a party song, and that also has like a dual meaning to it. And the reason why because it talks about getting money and getting all the world with we're going to get the world with us and everything like that. And then I'm really into last names and their origins and kind of what they mean or their mottos were and everything. And the last name Party, which has various spellings, the last name Party, their motto is for God. So it's kind of like has a religious aspect to it also.
Understood. And that's by Pitbull, yes?
Yes.
Okay. Are you going to give us a blast of it? You're going to sing a bit for it?
Do you really want me to sing?
Well,
it's like, don't stop the party. We're going to get the world loose. We're going to get the world loose. We're going to get money. And then everybody around the world is with me or whatever. So that's
okay.
That's the best I can do.
Well, thank you for doing that. It's a bit of a banger, yeah?
Yes.
Bit of a banger. So that'll get the citizens of Gaza on their feet and beating their chests. Is that the idea?
And with the whole world too, because within the song it mentions a bunch of cities and everything. In various parts of the world, like London, Paris, Morocco, and that's a country, but it's sort of an all-encompassing song with everything. So
now, given that that's your national anthem for Gaza, but it's all-encompassing, is that all-encompassing in terms of we want to feel an affinity with other people around the world, or these are the places we're going to come and invade?
Oh, affinity with the people.
Okay, right, understood. Now, with the citizens of Gaza who are bouncing up and down to Don't Stop the Party,
right?
What's fueling them? What's the national dish?
Well, I like food just as much as the next person does. But it doesn't really excite me that much. It's more like I have to eat. I like things that taste good. But what really drives me is candy and soda pop. So my national dish would be extreme sour, chewy sweet tarts and Dr. Pepper. But the entire country will have free candy for everybody and free soda pop for everybody. So
okay.
Candy, the ones that I mentioned, the sweet tarts and the Dr. Pepper, that's my personal favorite. But the national dish, I guess, would be candy and pop.
So the national dish, candy and pop, with an emphasis on the sweethearts and Dr. Pepper.
Yes.
Right. Okay. So with Dr. Pepper, is deciding, because it's misunderstood and you want more people to understand it and get to know its taste?
I just love it.
You just love it.
I just love it.
Do you think your Minister for Health is going to love all of this?
Well, they better. They don't have a choice on that one. I'll I'm going to be the Minister of Health. I don't need somebody trying to come in and telling me about candy and pop.
Okay. So
I don't have one of those.
Fair enough. There's no Minister for Health, and candy and pop are great. So I suppose that when people are singing the national anthem, it might be through groans of pain with all of their dental decay that's going on. Or is Gaza going to have world-class dentists on hand?
They'll have world-class. I didn't think about it, but of course, because Gasser supplies all the free pop and candy, Gasser is going to have to supply all the free dental work.
Okay.
I guess that just goes hand in hand. So yes, but all the dental work will be free.
All the dental work will be free. Candy will be free. The soda pop will be free.
Yes.
Certainly going to appeal to certain people. I'm not so sure. I'd be interested to know what the fiscal policies would be if we were ever going to embrace that. But because at the moment there's a lot going out, but what's going to be coming in?
Well, we'll get there.
We'll get there. Okay. What's your national animal?
That's also a dual thing. The national animal is a beagle.
Yes.
I'm a big beagle person. I've had several. And they're very kind, giving, sweet, forgiving, mischievous.
Okay. I'm sensing some affinity in personality there.
Right. They're very sweet dogs. Cute, adorable, and that's one side of the country's personality, if you will. Like I said, very forgiving, but mischievous and fun. Okay. And then the other national animal would be the Belgian Malinois, which is, they're like the Navy SEAL dogs and police dogs or whatever, but the Navy SEALs really have them, so they're trained killers. and not, but they're all dogs are sweet, but so the duality of the country is sweet, but if you mess with us or there's mess with the citizens and there's a problem, that's what you're going to get.
Yeah. So. Now that segues neatly into our next question, and full marks go to you.
This is my oh, I'm sorry if we
that's quite all right, because behind you, that's your national flag, isn't it?
It is. And this is actually my beagle Lily, but she's not with me anymore, but that's my beagle Lily, and I wish I had these two dogs, but I don't. Maybe
and those are the Belgian Malinois.
Yes.
Yeah, they look pretty capable dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. Would they chew your arm off?
Not my arm.
No, but an offender's arm.
Right. They'll chew faces off, whatever.
Okay, so they can be used as attack dogs, can they?
Yeah.
Okay, so they sort of symbolize, and it's fantastic you've made the flag and put it up there. Gold star for you, absolutely. So we've got a pair of attack dogs there. So that's what, symbolizing don't mess with us or we'll bite your face off for the country of Gaza. Yeah.
Yeah. And the protection of Gasser. Like this is also like, protection of Gasser, it's friends, it's, and yeah. If don't mess around or you're gonna get one of the dogs.
Okay.
Basically, that's the symbolism of it.
And your beagle,
Yes.
and putting to one side any allegations of favoritism because it's your beagle that's on the flag, that symbolizes what, the mischievousness of the nation?
The mischief in a fun way. Like I don't know if anybody who's had a beagle or has a beagle understands what I mean by that.
Okay.
And how they are and how fun they are and sweet and kind, and that's how Gasser is and wants to always be.
Yeah.
But
I see. So it's
alternative.
So it's all shits and giggles with the beagle until such time as you step out of line and then the Belgian Malinois chews your face off.
Correct.
Yeah, makes perfect sense to me. Tell me about the stars and the colours.
Well, there's the red, white, and blue. The colors and flags mean things. One's freedom, power. I can't think what the other one is, but I use the United States, Great Britain, all the free countries. They all have red, white, and blue and everything. So I stuck with those colors. Yeah. And the two stars are like the duality.
Yes.
And then I'll answer that question, the rest of that question later on as we go through.
Understood. Okay. Well, as I say, top marks for the creation of the flag and for having it. I think the only way you could have gone better is if we'd have gone outside and you'd actually put it on a flagpole. Maybe that'll be something that happens next. We'll see. We'll see if somebody tries to one-upmanship. One up you rather in that regard. Okay, so we've got a fairly strong flag there, and evidently one for the dog lovers as well. What's the national motto of Gasser?
You live by the sword and you die by the sword.
That's pretty aggressive.
Yes.
Yep.
Okay. Well, for me it's not so much aggressive as it is direct. It's just direct.
Who's that aimed at? Are you telling your citizens you live by the sword, you die by the sword?
No, that's more for adversaries.
Yeah, so it's basically saying, don't fuck with us. We've got dogs, we'll use them, and we've got swords too. So if you get aggressive with us, my dogs are going to chew your face off, and I'll stick a sword up your bottom.
Correct.
Absolutely.
I couldn't have said it better myself.
Well, there we are. We have an accord in that respect. Okay. So we have the flag, beautifully presented there. We have the national motto, which is to the point. What about a national day? Does it have a name?
Easter. My national day would be Easter. Our national day would be Easter.
And is that the conventional time period of Easter, of Good Friday, Easter Saturday, Easter Sunday, or something else?
Yes.
It is. Okay.
It's Easter is Easter is Easter. As a Christian, it's the biggest, most important day ever.
Okay. So we're to assume that it's predominantly a Christian nation.
Yes.
Okay.
But we'll get into that. I mean, it's not. We'll
touch on that. Yeah.
And I don't want anybody to think, before we get into it, that I'm alienating anyone. But it is a Christian nation.
Sure, well, you are allowed to choose the religion of your nation. It's your nation, and if people regard that as alienation, that is on them. So, just pinning you down though, given that it's a national day, or are you going for 4 national days? Is it Friday through to Monday, or will it just be Easter Sunday?
It would be just Easter Sunday.
Okay.
I mean, like Good Friday would be recognized like it is anywhere, but the day would be the resurrection.
Okay, so you'd both have Easter Sunday, and that would be the national day also.
Right.
Yeah, busy day indeed.
Busy day.
Yeah.
Well, but it actually is not Gasser's day. It's just the Lord's day, but we're not sharing that day. That's just our national day is Easter.
I understand. I understand. Okay. Now, we're going to move on to some multiple choice questions now, where you're forced to pick an answer by me. And so I'm going to pose a question, and then I'm going to give you the options, and then you're going to pick one of them. Okay? So first of all, what's your foreign policy? Is it defense only, or you aid allied nations and defend your own country? Or will you adopt a world policeman role? Or will you be expansionist regarding claiming historical territories? So, for example, that used to belong to us and I'm staking a claim and I'm going to get it back. Or will you be expansionist regarding historical territories and resources? That used to belong to us and I quite fancy your oil fields too. Or will the foreign policy be, you looked at me funny, I'm invading you?
The aiding and
So you're going to aid allied nations and defend your own country.
Correct.
Okay. Nuclear missiles are the next decision. Will there be no nuclear missiles in your country? Will you have them as a deterrent only, meaning you won't ever use them, but you're not going to let anybody know that apart from who's listening to us? Will you only use them in retaliation to nuclear weapons being used against your country, or hell yeah, let's get nuking?
None. But my real answer is hell yeah, let's.
Well, which one is it? Which one is it? It has to be your choice.
Well, I was like trying not to be so like. That's why I was like, well, none. But my real answer is, but I would sort of have, because I'm gasser and it's based, I'm gases. I would have something a little bit different than a nuke. I would have so yeah, it would be something like that. But what I would do is all my top scientists will have created some sort of a bomb that's dropped that's very, very powerful and destructive, but not like a nuclear weapon. It would be a lot of gases. A lot of gases would be released, and it would put everybody to sleep. This is my answer.
So
go ahead.
So in essence, then there'll be no nuclear missiles. Instead, the alternative.
Yeah, because I have a Wunderwaffen, a better one.
Okay, so you have a Wunderwaffen who's going to create a very effective sleeping agent that you'll drop those bombs and everyone will fall asleep.
Right, and then we would go in. We would go in and.
Would you go in and put the pajamas on for them, or?
No, they'd be like knocked out. They wouldn't be sleeping. But we'd go in and get all the innocents out.
Right.
And then the ones that, the non-innocents.
Yeah.
Will be left, and some will be disposed of, and some will head to some of our camps. Which
So basically, you knock them all out, and then go in there and rescue the innocent, and then with certain selected individuals, they might either be disincentivized by being killed, or they will be taken away to be placed in a camp. Would you leave anybody there and draw a penis on their forehead while they're asleep?
No.
No. What about a mustache?
No.
Oh, okay. Just so we're clear on those things. Next,
it's one or the other. Either they're innocent or they're not. The non-innocents aren't getting fun mustaches. Right?
Okay.
The innocents don't deserve to have the mustaches and otherwise drawn on them. So.
Understood. Press freedom. Is it the case there's no state interference whatsoever, or you'll interfere on the grounds of national security only, or you interfere whatever the government deems sensitive will result in some form of interference, or is the media state owned?
When you say sensitive, what do you mean, like classified kind of?
Whatever you call sensitive. So you could say, for instance, somebody writing something about you is sensitive if you choose to adopt that. So it's a very flexible approach where you could basically say, well, no, it would only be if it's really going to sort of endanger the political party, or you might have a really low threshold on it and say, someone criticized my lipstick shade, close them down.
I think there would be freedom of speech, freedom of press and everything, except seditious, treasonous, traitorous, damning, harming. Criticize the government all you want. I doubt anybody would criticize mine, though, because it's very cool. But they could criticize it all they want. But the United States' freedom of speech has also been weaponized against it. A lot of countries has, where they allow seditious. I mean, you just can't have that. You just can't have that. But critical stuff, sensitive stuff. If they had like, so anything that would really be damaging and hurt or put the safety of the country and the people at risk can't happen.
Okay, so somebody gives away the location of your labs that are creating your sleeping bombs. Is that viewed as seditious?
I wouldn't consider that seditious.
You wouldn't.
I would consider that as like a national security problem.
So I think on balance, you're probably going to go for the national security only for interference. Would that be right?
Yes.
Okay.
Which sedition and all that stuff falls under national security too. So yeah.
Well, I suppose it depends on what you deem to be seditious, isn't it? Because you might say, for instance, criticizing the leader. For instance, in medieval times, if you envisaged the death of the monarch, that was treason. Now you might say that's ridiculous because everybody dies. But if you were to talk about the death of the monarch, even if you weren't wanting them to die, that could be viewed as treason. Criticizing the monarch by saying Henry VIII's beard doesn't suit him, that would be viewed as treason. That would be seditious rumblings taking place. So it depends where you put the bar. So if you're going to go for national security only, I think you'd have to drop the sedition.
Well, it wouldn't even necessarily be about me. It would be if you're trying to destroy the country, it's not going to work. That's the rule.
Okay.
Like if you're trying to take down the country, I can take it. I don't care if I would get criticized or whatever. That wouldn't bother me. But if any speech that is trying to ruin the country, that puts the safety of the people at risk.
What about people putting up an opposing view across college campuses and universities, set basically that doesn't correspond with gases motives? Would that be destroying the nation because you're infecting the mind? No, wouldn't. Okay, that would be all right.
That'd be okay.
Okay, thank you for that. Religious tolerance. Would you have complete freedom of worship and expression, or freedom of worship unless it's provocative to others, or you have the existing indigenous religion, in this instance Christianity, but others are secretly tolerated? Or would you have the existing indigenous only with non-tolerance and persecution of unapproved religions? Or is it a case of you worship me and only worship me? Remember that.
All religions would be welcome, except for like Satanists and like voodoo and stuff like that. They're not welcome. But all the religions are fine, and they're welcome and able to practice their religion. They just can't. They would have to assimilate. They can do their religious stuff and everything, but they still have to remember and assimilate into a Christian nation. Meaning, don't try and make this not a Christian nation, because it is. Like you can do what you want here, but we are a Christian nation.
Okay, so that would be freedom of worship unless provocative to others.
Yeah.
Okay. Next one, equality. Minorities are actively supported, they're protected, and they gain positive discrimination. Or minorities are protected by anti-discrimination legislation. Or we promote ability, we don't fill quotas. Or minority issues are ignored. Or minorities are actively persecuted. They are a nuisance.
Abilities, we promote abilities and not quotas.
Jolly good. Okay, so we've got some policies there on foreign basis about nuclear missiles, which we're having sleep bombs instead. So that's,
right. I mean, like, I've got the new Wunderwaffen, so I don't have to nuke people.
That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. That's absolutely fine. So we've got our Wunderwaffen, which we might be revisiting who that is in a moment or two. But we're now going to turn to your short form cabinet. As mentioned, we're not going to go through every single cabinet position. That would take far too long. So we've selected 5. Who's going to be your defense chief?
HG Blood and Guts Tudor.
Well, that sounds eminently sensible. Expand on your thinking for that position.
For what I would want to do to people that messed with us, I couldn't have somebody with a weak stomach in that position. I would need somebody to carry out the harsh brutality that I would order against people, and run an army against narcissists and psychopaths that have no empathy. Everybody has their talents and can useful somewhere. Yeah. Against traitors, anybody, other countries or whatever, child and human traffickers, child molesters, animal abusers, elder abusers, the usual.
The shit list.
Right, but I'm not as kind of a person as some of these. I don't know why some of these people are treated as well as they are when they get. I mean, they're going to camp.
Okay. We're not talking about.
And I would want the most sick and twisted, psychotic, sadistic.
Sadists.
Sadists inside of those camps. I mean, I can't have people trying to talk anybody out of doing to people what they deserve.
Given that I'm the defense chief, a narcissistic psychopath, which I understand the thought process behind that, and you said that basically I'll be in charge of an army of cold-blooded psychopaths and narcissists to carry out your will.
Yeah.
Isn't there a risk that the members of your army are going to be made up of the very people that they're going after?
Well, that's your job to make sure that, like there are narcissists out there that know right and wrong and probably get, I mean, I'm sure you're a narcissist and a psychopath. I'm sure you don't like child molesters.
Well, I don't, no.
So you need to it's your job to make sure that that's your job.
Okay, so I'm given carte blanche to weed out. So if anybody applies and I find out that basically they're a child or human trafficker, they don't get in this army, and then they're sent off to the camp.
Right. Yeah, that's all your job. You have to find the most cold, brutal, non-empathetic people to carry out, but they have to be like, you're a good person. Just because you're a narcissist doesn't make you a bad person.
Sure.
People like you.
Okay, no problem. Well, there's only one of me, but I'll try and find
you understand,
lesser versions of myself.
Right.
They're out there.
But absolutely. The sick and twisted sadists, they can be whatever, but let them go in the camps and shut the door and let them do what they want to. The child molesters.
Okay.
Things like that.
Now, these camps where these people are going to be sent to, what's the environment like for these places? I mean, in history, for instance, you go off to the Gulag, which would be in Siberia. The concentration camps were not necessarily in such a environmentally hostile place. It tends to be more the environment cultivated within them. So what would the environment like at these camps, and do you have a specific name for them, or are they just the camps?
I didn't think of a name. Hey, I'll tell you. So they would be like the worst Soviet gulag and the worst Nazi camp, like Buchenwald, all the bad ones, would be like staying at the Ritz compared to what our camps would be.
Okay.
That's
pretty severe then.
Pretty severe. I don't like, people that do things to kids, animal, things like, Yeah. And I don't think that they should.
Hell on earth.
I don't think that they should have. I don't think they should have a warm bed and 3 squares a day.
No.
That's just me.
Then. Okay. So hell on earth for those individuals.
The camps would be. So let's just say I set off one of my gas bombs. So the camps would be set up within that country, and then also, the gas bombs won't destroy the country. Then it's ours, gassers for the taking. So
okay.
Nothing's going to be destroyed. So those camps would just be set up there.
Yeah. So you'd sleep bomb the country, knocking out the populace as best you could. But then those that you would be deemed innocent, what would they be doing? Assimilated into Gaza? Be part of the Gaza populace?
They would be taken out of there.
Yeah.
And probably get care or treatment or whatever they probably would need. because they probably weren't. If we're going in and doing that, then it's probably not a good place anyway.
Already.
Right. So they would be taken out of there, getting the care that they need. All the scumbags will be taken care of. And when all that's done, Gasser will, the spoil to the winner goes this, or the spoils go to the, what's that saying? But those people would go back to their country and have their country. I would just, take some of the stuff.
Okay.
For the, because that's, I wouldn't take all the stuff, but you understand.
The spoils. Okay.
Right.
So I'm defense chief, so I'm going to have lots of fun making life miserable for the scumbags. I'm on board with all of that. I'm custom made for the role. Now, who's your foreign secretary?
Jack Posobiec.
And for those who aren't familiar with that name, who's that?
He is he's a journalist. He's a former naval intelligence officer and was a Guantanamo Bay interrogator. So, and he's hilarious.
Okay, why would he be such a choice for foreign secretary?
Because the short answer would be because he thinks exactly the way that I do, and he wouldn't be a lot of diplomats, we're in agreement on everything politically, but a lot of people, these diplomats or whoever, they go and they meet with people and maybe they get hoodwinked or make bad deals or get outsmarted or, whatever. That's not going to happen with him. He was an interrogator and a naval intelligence officer, and that's not going to happen.
So basically you can rely on him as a mini-me in effect.
Correct.
Okay. Makes sense. Chief Scientific Officer.
Elon Musk. That's an obvious answer, but that's my answer.
And is he the boffin that's created the sleep bomb?
Yes. Well, and we'll get into this. Like, obviously, Gasser is going to have the greatest military on Earth and the best space program on Earth. But he's doing all that stuff, and there would be Gasser will be working on the atmosphere and the gases in there a lot.
Right.
So he falls into that, and then he's he has his MBA from Penn, and then he has a physics degree, but he's got his hand, and he's brilliant. So I mean, he understands enough of what's going on about vaccines and things like that, that he's got a working knowledge of pretty much everything, and then he can delegate how all that works from there.
Okay. Who's going to be holding the purse strings? Who's the Chancellor of the Exchequer? Who's the Treasury Secretary?
This guy.
So you're going to have a dual role. So you're going to be Premier, and also you're going to be the Chancellor, the Treasury Secretary.
Yes.
Why in particular should you be holding the purse strings?
I don't want to say not that I don't trust anybody else, because that's not it, but I would want to do it. I have an international business degree, so I'm more than capable of doing all the everything. And it's just something, because that's what I took in school. That's just something I would enjoy doing. It's not like a trust issue.
Okay, and I suppose there's a good opportunity there that you could siphon away funds for your huge palace that you'll build as well, if need be.
No, I don't know that I would siphon funds. I mean, I'm not that way.
Okay, award yourself a really.
I just want to do it. It's not about me siphoning funds. I just, like I said, that's what I went to school for. So that's why I would want to do it.
Yeah,
and I understand it.
If you're holding the purse strings, what's a little bit of personal enrichment and embezzlement amongst nations? I mean, at the end of the day, you're the one running the country. You're the one that's putting in the hard graft in. Surely you need a beautiful palace. I mean, well, you've got your castle, but those things don't come cheap. You might want one by the sea as well.
Well, I mean, I wouldn't be like stealing public funds or the people's money. Like, I'm smart enough and knowing how to like invest in everything that I'd have my own. I don't need to I'd be making deals, and we'll get into Liechtenstein later, but I wouldn't be siphoning money from. I mean, it's my country. I can't siphon money from myself, right? So it would be, I don't know.
So the nation's money is your money.
Right.
Okay. Minister for
our
Fun.
money, but like that just has a bad. I'm not, I like the finer things in life, but how much money do you need? Like, I wouldn't be like, like I need to keep taking billions so I can have it in, trillions so I can have it in my bank account for no reason. I mean, how much money do you need personally?
Okay. Wow, that's the eternal question. As Gordon Gekko asked in Wall Street, how much is enough? But anyway,
right.
Who's the Minister for Fun?
Snoopy and Bugs Bunny, a joint role.
Joint role. Okay, so a couple of cartoon characters.
Yes, my favorites.
Yeah. What are they going to bring to the role?
Just innocence and fun, like fun, innocent fun and joking and goofiness and just stuff like that. Everybody, probably mostly everybody loves Snoopy and Bugs Bunny. Myself, I mean, that's what I grew up on. And like when I, with the Harry and Meghan stuff or even the world stuff, and I've just looked through so much garbage on the internet and the disgustingness of the world and everything, I actually like not brainwash, but wash my brain out watching Looney Tunes and Snoopy.
Yeah, a cleansing effect.
It's very cleansing. It's so light. It's so funny, and it takes everybody back to their childhoods, and
Well, certainly given the punishments that are going to be meted out to the undesirables, they're going to have their work cut out to offset all of that dark side of things, aren't they? So I suppose a dual role would be to share that burden would work out quite well for them. How would you feel about the fact that if Bugs Bunny kept going, "What's up, Doc?" and I wanted to punch his face in because he was pissing me off in a cabinet meeting? Where do we go with that?
Well, I mean, HG, I mean, if you want to try and take on Bugs Bunny, that's up to you. That would be a fight that I'd like to see.
I'm entirely relaxed about taking on a cartoon character, so we're okay there. All right.
So, I don't care if my cabinet members fight. That's between y'all.
Okay, fine. It's a psychopath eats cartoon character world. Jolly good.
Right.
Now, which country would be your major ally?
Liechtenstein.
Now that's an interesting selection. Let me speak your brains about that.
Well, I'm sure you know why I picked Liechtenstein.
Well, but, I want you to tell me.
Well, no, I know. I'm not sure many Americans know of Liechtenstein. The Europeans, I'm sure, do, that'll be watching. As I mentioned, I have an international business degree, and my concentration was in Western Europe, specifically German, because that's the language I could speak. Yeah. And we learned a lot about Liechtenstein and what goes on there. And Liechtenstein, it's like Switzerland, only better. It's not part of the EU, which is a plus. It's part of some other things, but it's not in the EU. They're by GDP, not GDP. What's the word I'm looking for? Per capita, they're the richest country in the world. They're neutral. There's just a lot of, their banking is very secret, even though people have it. When I was learning about Liechtenstein in school, that was before everybody started meddling into it. But, they still have their ways of, and it's very wealthy and it's secure. So that's where a lot of our money would be going on there.
Okay. And which country would be your main enemy?
They wouldn't be any. Was that a sufficient answer about Liechtenstein?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah, makes sense. Yeah.
There wouldn't
be. Who's the enemy?
The only country that would be an enemy is Iran, and then the enemies of Gasser would be like the EU, not the countries. I don't have an issue with the countries. The EU, that was Hitler's dream. And then also when I was in college and, taking all of my classes was when the EU was being implemented. And I don't think people really understand how it's not good. Like I was studying like through I'll email you. I don't have it laying around. I'll email you a book, which is one of my school books. Like I said, this was all during the implementation from like 98 to 2002 or something, whenever it was. That's when I was in school. It's one of the most evil, frightening books you'll ever read. And it's all about and it's not a conspiracy. It was one of our required like readings. So I just don't like it. Any global organization like the UN, not in it, and I'll get to explain why later. The World Economic Fund, not in it. I know I listed these for you. Those
organizations and entities that you have a problem with.
Yeah, unelected type organizations, because with those, the idea behind them is okay, but people ruin everything. It invites corruption, and then when you're a part of those organizations, you have to agree to think you're a part of them, so you have to go along with what they're doing, and I don't really like what they do, and I don't really like going along with the crowd. That's why I'm a rogue nation. We'll get to that too.
Okay.
So, but the stuff like that, I'm just not into.
Yeah, so Iran's the country that would be the enemy, and these various organizations stick in your craw, and you'd be opposed to them. That makes sense?
Right, yes.
Now, is there a particular group that would not be welcome in Gaza?
Assholes, traitors, assholes.
Pretty wide-ranging, but yeah.
Right. Gaza. There's no room for assholes in Gaza. There's just not. Socialists, Nazis, and I don't leave out or I don't mention communists, only because communism is not an economic system. It's a philosophy. Socialism is the economic system that is bad. Communism, it's not. It's a philosophy. So, it's just unfortunate. Not that I'm a communist or anything, but communist thinkers. It's unfortunate that communist countries have been run by dictators, but they all use the socialist system because that's the economic system. One could argue that Jesus was a communist. So people that want to share and have that communal and equality thing, I don't have an issue with that. So, but socialist, Nazis, the Sussex Squad, can I pull up my notes? I forget what I wrote.
Of course you can.
Okay.
I don't expect you to remember everything off the top of your head, so if you need to refresh your memory, that's fine.
Let's see here, because it's just not. It's never just one easy answer with me.
Sure.
NATO, it just, I just don't. Well, I'm not going to get into NATO here.
Okay.
Stop. Here.
Okay. We perhaps don't have time to. Okay, so we've got the groups of the assholes, the traitorous assholes, the socialists and the Nazis, the Sussex Squad. They're not getting into Gaza.
No.
Fair enough. Now then, we're going to turn to the 5 foundation policies of your government. And naturally, these can be anything you want. So what's your first policy?
I'm going to get my notes here. So my first policy is Gaza's a kind, non-prejudiced, giving, gentle, unashamed of being a Christian nation, a rogue, though governed, while being a Christian nation, it's governed by God's Old Testament laws, like an eye for an eye, a tooth for a tooth, a life for a life, a foot for a foot, a hand for a hand, a life for a life. So that's pretty, just like you live by the sword, you die by the sword. It's direct. I mean, nobody can be like, well, I didn't know. Well, what do you mean? I mean, you can't. It's not any more clear than that. It can't be any more clear than that. Like, you do this, that's what's going to happen to you.
Okay.
That's it. And then, the 10 Commandments and, the beagle. Oh, so coming back to the flag. So the beagle sort of represents the softer side, like Jesus was softer. And then the Belgian Malinois, they're the, God's harsh, brutal laws. And that's what the stars for. It's like God and Jesus.
I see. So we have that duality again. Okay, that's policy number 1.
Yes.
What's policy number 2, please?
Gasser will be based on the fundamental idea of America, like what America started out to be. I mean, it's.
You mean the United States?
Yes.
Yeah.
People have twisted it and turned it, and a lot of people now look at the United States or say, "Oh, America or the United States isn't that great." Well, no, because people ruined it. The idea of the United States is great, and that's what I like. And it'll also be based on the Federalist Papers. So those two things, and we did cover this. And I didn't get a chance to totally go over the things that I would change because of what happened yesterday with Trump, sort of. And we talked about this, the freedom of speech thing. You have freedom of speech, except you can't sit there and plot to overthrow the government. That's like stuff like that.
Yeah, understood. Okay. What about policy number 3?
Gasser, being rogue, will not be part of any world organizations. We will not be bound by rules of engagement. See, when you join those organizations, you got to follow the rules.
Yeah.
You
want to stand alone, and you don't want to be bound by any kind of all-encompassing organization and their treaties and conventions,
right, and stuff like that. Like, because a lot of countries have agendas, and they'll say, well, no, you can't go in there because we've got business deals with trade deals with this country, and it'll mess my stuff up, so you can't do. No. There will be no rules of engagement, like I said, and I'm not abiding by rules of how to treat prisoners.
Okay.
So let me see here for you.
And what's the 4th policy?
We'll have no federal type income tax, no outsourcing, no trade deals unless trade deals, no climate change treaties, because that just harms places. Like the free market is the greatest regulator, because if a company's a scumbag and polluting, well, people aren't going to want to use it. So it'll just fizzle out on its own. If you're a good corporate citizen and take care of the earth and everything without all of these regulations on you, everything will be fine. Like, it just always works out. But
how come all of these polluting companies that are managing to pollute the atmosphere and the water, etc., are still going? Because according to you, they'd fizzle out, but they don't.
Well,
they lobby.
Well, which cut? I mean, where in which cut? Like China's doing it. Like the United States is like, nowhere's perfect, but the United States is, very follows the rules. Where then China's not following the rules, and their goods are less, and they're producing steel, and they're using raw, coal and all of that stuff, and we don't use our coal anymore. The UK, I'm sure, doesn't, and everything like that. So, because they're involved in these climate treaties, China's just out there just doing what they're doing. And it's an uneven playing field, if that makes sense.
Okay, so you want to level the playing field by not being involved in all of these.
Right, but not that I want to be a polluter or anything, but
no, I'm not suggesting that's the case at all.
Right.
I understand what you're driving at. Okay, so that was an extension of your 3rd policy. So what's the 4th one?
Gasser will be surrounded by a huge impenetrable wall guarded by the Laughing Gassers. That's the name of my army. Our army.
The Laughing Gassers.
The army.
Makes sense.
The army
Yep.
that you're using. Yeah, because.
Yep.
Yeah. So, hold on. We'll be surrounded by a huge impenetrable wall guarded by the Laughing Gassers and the Belgian Malinois. There will be also a moat filled with the nastiest crocodiles and alligators on Earth. There will be immigration, but with thorough, strict vetting. So we're not a non-open country. We're just not going to let. It's not fair to the citizens to just let everybody in. So it's going to be very protected.
Okay, so I take it that wherever Gasser is on the planet, it's going to be in an environment where the alligators and the crocodiles aren't going to freeze to death.
Right.
Okay. And your fifth and final policy, please.
So, I mean, I'd be a liar to say that I've never done a drug before in my entire life. So I would make some of the fun, like nothing harmful like the ugly, nasty things that ruin people's lives. But, some of the more fun designer type drugs would be legal in Gaza. But they would be made in Gasser-run pharmaceutical plants, Gasser-overseen pharmaceutical plants where they were clean, safe, and everything like that.
Taxed, presumably?
I'm sorry?
Taxed? Would these drugs be taxed by the government? If you're creating them, are you going to tax them?
Well, there would be a tax when they're sold. I mean, yeah.
Okay.
So, it would be government-run, clean. It would be in moderation. People just couldn't sit around and like do that stuff all day, but like the fun stuff. And there would be tanks of nitrous all over the country, like the laughing gas.
Okay, so would Bugs Bunny and Snoopy be going around determining how much fun you can have taking these drugs?
Well, right. I mean, there would be some sort of system, like, you'd go to a pharmacy. You wouldn't go to a drug dealer. You'd go to a pharmacy for these fun type drugs. I mean, anybody out there probably, and I went to college in the late 90s and 2000s, so everybody can probably figure out the types of stuff I'm talking about. But, you would go to a pharmacy, like it would be monitored.
Yes.
Somebody just can't go buy 1,000 and go OD on all this stuff. I mean, there would be, for your Friday nights, you can go get your stuff for Friday night or whatever, but it would be very well regulated and monitored. And I don't want anybody to get hurt, but it would be very safe and clean and things like that. So
there we are.
And the tanks would be everywhere.
The tanks would be everywhere. There we are.
The laughing gas would be free everywhere.
Okay. Well,
so that's my story.
Well, thank you, Premier, for sharing your thoughts on the nation of Gaza, a place where you can gorge on candy and soda pop to burst and laughing gas, and you can take the drugs, but they are moderated. Otherwise, Bugs Bunny and Snoopy will be after you. You better behave yourself, because no arseholes are getting into this country, because the crocodiles and alligators are going to scoff them. Elon Musk is going to ensure that there's the most technologically advanced space program in the world. And if you fall foul of the leadership, well, you're going to be shipped off to the relevant camps where you would wish that you were in a gulag instead, because it would feel like the Ritz by comparison. Whilst you're being shipped out, you'll probably listen to Don't Stop the Party, and you'll get to see the magnificent flag of Gaza fluttering from the various public buildings around. Because at the end of the day, Gaza, it might have an underbelly that's soft and squishy like a beagle, but in actual fact, fuck with it, and you'll soon find out that a Belgian Malinois is going to chew your face off. Thank you very much.
Basically, so I'm the beagle, and you're the Belgian Malinois.
I see. Well, okay, that was the delineation of roles. I see. Very good. Well, thank you very much for sharing your thoughts.
Thank you for having me. This was very fun.
Not at all. Of you ruling your world. And remember, what are your thoughts about this nation that has been created by the Duchess of Narsussex? What do you think about belonging to Gaza? What do you think about being able to sleep bomb those other nations into submission and not being party to any treaties that would restrict the growth of this great nation? Well, you're going to be able to share your views and votes in the community section. So go there on my channel and you can cast your vote as to whether you think this is utopia or not a chance. I'm going to run the risk of being shipped off to one of the camps, because I'm going to try and bring this government down. And you'll have to deal with me as defense chief, it would appear, as well. So I'm HG Tudor, Duchess of Narcissus. Thank you for joining me today.
Thank you for having me.